Tai Chi exercises, my electric bicycle, and then these I've recently added, as I've been asked by various people about DMSO, I've added DMSO to what I do. And so
what is Lifetime Vibe?
It's a machine that vibrates you at different frequency. This is one down in the basement that my children generously gave me.
That's awesome. When I get up in the morning, I get dressed and then go to work 10 minutes later. So.
Well, yeah, that's there used to be a comic strip I enjoyed. It was called Zits. About a teenage boy and a teenage girl, different families, their boyfriend, girlfriend. It would show him getting up and throwing his clothes on, throwing down a bowl of dry soil and running out the door with his shirt half on. She gets up an hour and does her makeup and does her hair and does her thing. It takes her an hour to do what he does in about 5 minutes. But anyway, as you get older, you'll probably change your routine. I hope you do. But anyway, but memorizing it. And so a lot of my time is going to be getting feedback. I won't get feedback directly from you, but I'm going to ask you questions about what we talked about previously. And this week, maybe next week, I'll share the poem I encourage my children, my grandchildren, and my great-grandchildren soon to memorize. Because once you memorize something, it really becomes part of you. And especially if you memorize the truth. Weston Price was a brilliant person, and he was the founder of the Weston Price Foundation, which is a wonderful organization. And I'll just put a plug in for him, westonaprice.org. And if you have questions, any nutritional questions, what's the value of saturated fat? What's the problem with the seed oils that a lot of people are talking about now? But anyway, recently we talked about the benefits of aspirin. I just encourage you to maybe review. I hope you got that list, the list of 20 things that aspirin does for you for a nickel a day. I hope you downloaded or printed up that list and put it somewhere where you see it regularly. I've done that, and I'll just review quickly. Aspirin lowers the risk of heart attack by 44%. 44%. The leading cause of death in this country is heart attacks and heart disease. 44%.
Does that mean that 44% of people that die of heart attack wouldn't die if everyone was taking aspirin?
If they were taking that, that's right. That's what the numbers show. In fact, they are one of the bases for them saying this was this study. I'm here to find it real closely. The Physicians' Health Study. This was done a few years ago. They studied 100, anyway, reduced the risk of heart attacks from 439 per 100,000 patient years to 254. That's a huge reduction.
Yeah.
They didn't factor in diet or any of these other things. These are people who just took an aspirin. That was the commonality of this study. And then another study, a series of studies, cancer, 33% reduction, lung cancer, 39%, prostate cancer, 73%. Now, where else can you get a bargain like that? 5 cents a day. Okay, but I don't want to. But get out those papers and save them and index them so you can refer to them.
What's in aspirin that's so good?
It's an anti-inflammatory.
Okay.
It stops inflammation. Inflammation is the key to disease.
And the name of the actual ingredient in aspirin?
Acetylsalicylic acid.
Okay. Yeah, that's
you don't
that's
need
why
to
we don't say it too much.
You need to memorize that. But don't get fooled into thinking Tylenol does that. I gave you a website, and I'll give it to them. I'll publish it again.
Yeah.
What pharma has done to the benefits of aspirin by tricking you into thinking you're going to, you have to have something that doesn't cause this thing called Ray's syndrome, which is this website I gave you talks about REYES syndrome that children got sometimes from taking aspirin. Read about it. It's like the measles epidemics we see now. 2 people got measles and died. Well, then you find out that everyone didn't have measles. But the newspapers don't publish a retraction or a correction. It's just the big news. Anyway.
They don't want to look like they were wrong.
Yeah, they want to promote vaccination. But today I want you to consider, after you've thought about, one of the things I want to remind you of is out in the book about intuitive testing. Your body doesn't lie. You'll enjoy reading the book. It's a fun book. It shows you various pictures and how you can tell if it's good to look at that picture. You may have a picture hanging in your living room. But every time you look at it, your immune system takes a hit. Just by looking at the picture you've got hanging in the old picture of the farmer and a pitchfork with his wife, they look kind of sour. If you look at that picture, you get weak. Your immune system doesn't work as well. Your digestive system, your liver, it drains your energy. Yeah. We put a little kitty here for a homey touch. I don't know why she, anyway. But read the book. You got to read the book. I cannot convince you. I cannot teach you what you need to learn. But I can even read it. But you've got to read it. And you've got to think about it. And you've got to practice the things they say in there. It's either you learn to do intuitive testing or you spend your life guessing about what you should do. Okay, that's enough repetition. I want to talk a little bit more today about 50, 75 years ago, an environmentalist, Rene Du Bois, said this: the greatest danger of pollution may well be that we shall tolerate levels of it so low as to have no acute nuisance value. In other words, we could paint this room, for example, and even though it's full of the paint and the gassing out of the paint is quite toxic, it wouldn't bother me. It might give some people a headache, but it wouldn't bother me. And even though my body is still having to deal with that toxin. But he goes on to say, but sufficiently high, nevertheless, to have a delayed pathologic effect and spoil the quality of life. What he means is that you can visualize yourself as a 50-gallon barrel. That's your optimal health. And every time you get exposed to these toxins, you're filling up that barrel. And when your barrel gets full, you get sick. I had a good friend who she and her husband retired. They had a new energy-efficient manufactured home. They moved in it. She got an autoimmune disease within 6 months, and a year later she was dead. Because that is one of the things these chemicals do to you.
So if paint is bad for the air, why is our whole house painted?
Because it's pretty.
Okay.
We do so many. I mean, why do people put all these chemicals on their face? Why do people wash their hair with chemicals? Some people every day. It drove me crazy. My children, especially my daughters, would wash their hair several times a week. And it's bad, number one, because of the chemicals in the shampoo. Read the list of ingredients in the shampoo.
Yeah.
It's this long, fine print.
I only use like soaps with all natural ingredients. I don't even use the bottled.
Good, and that's good. But see, these things gradually accumulate, and these chemicals get absorbed into your body. The body responds to them. These chemicals are called haptens. You know what I mean? They aren't what we call an antigen, which stimulates the immune system to respond, but they're part of an antigen. And then the body attaches the rest of that necessary ingredients to the hapten, and it becomes an antigen. And so your body can actually become allergic to chemicals. I had an argument with a professor at the medical school. He said, no, you cannot. Most chemical molecules are too small to stimulate the immune system. But he was wrong. And we had this lady that worked as an x-ray technician, and she developed severe reaction to the chemicals used to process x-ray film.
Oh,
And he testified that, no, you cannot develop. Well, the literature is definitely that you can develop. But anyway, so all these chemicals stress your immune system, and they can damage your tissues. And if your tissue, let me give you a quick, I'm probably going to run out of time. Anyway, that's why when you're born, you know, in the early days of organ transplantation, they would take and operate on a cow or a goat or something, a small animal, and take out the baby and take the kidney of that animal and transplant it into a human. Because before we're born, our tissues are pretty much neutral immunologically, and so we don't become allergic to it. And so our immune system doesn't react to our cells. And so the early part of our life, the immune system is traveling around your body, these little cells, getting to know you. As you grow older, when your immune cell sees your kidney cell, it doesn't say, oh, who are you? It says, oh, hi, kidney, and does not form an antibody to your own kidney.
yeah.
Now, if that kidney cell gets damaged by radiation or chemicals or some of the chemical soup you put in your body, well, then all of a sudden your immune system doesn't recognize it. I had a good experience. We had a wonderful dog. And in the old days, our dog just ran loose in the yard. And I could come home late at night, and if I walked up to the house and Macy was out, she just went out and wagged her tail and we had a good talk. But if I had a hat on, she would start barking like crazy. And that is what our immune system does. If we change who we are, or if I had maybe a crutch or something, she would bark, but she would not recognize who I was. And that's what your immune system does when you expose it to chemicals and poorly digested food, or you get some sort of a chemical injury. And that's why the pollution is so dangerous. There's a great book called The Autoimmune Epidemic. And it goes into great details about the danger these chemicals pose and their contribution to autoimmunity. I gave a little lecture once on allergies and autoimmune disease. The list of, I think, many conditions we thought, like rheumatoid arthritis, they're autoimmune. Childhood diabetes is autoimmune. There's all these different things. But anyway, so my challenge this week is, well, let me just give you a little more. Fluoride is a poison. Now, I don't care what the dentists say or the newspaper says, it's a poison. Where does sodium fluoride come from? It's a waste product of the fertilizer industry. And they've convinced people they should put it in the water. Great way to get rid of your waste product and get paid for it. Now, the other thing is aluminum. Aluminum is probably the cause of autism, and it probably is a major contributor to dementia. And when someone has fluoride in their system, and they also get aluminum, which aluminum is one of the most common elements in the world, and there's really no biological function for it. But when you get aluminum coming into your diet, and you also are using fluoride, the aluminum facilitates, or the fluoride facilitates the absorption of aluminum and the transport of aluminum into your brain. There's a great book. It's called Imagine You Are Aluminum Atom. It goes in all this stuff. But most of us ignore it, but I don't want you to ignore it. But your challenge this week is you go through look at your cosmetics, your toothpaste, your antiperspirants. A lot of people use those daily. They have aluminum in them. Get a deodorant. Get a natural deodorant. Or clean up your body. Your body shouldn't have a bad odor. My family telling me, I'm into DMSO now. We'll talk about that maybe another day. The DMSO gives you a little odor. My family's nice enough, they didn't comment on it. But I was just with a nurse that used to work in my office, and she was used to doing DMSO IVs as part of chelation. And as soon as I went around there, she said, "Oh, are you using DMSO?" She recognized the odor. It's not unpleasant, it's just definitely an odor. So the challenge this week is to get as much as possible aluminum and fluoride out of your homes. Cut down your chemical, what we can talk about the chemicals some other day. And so I'll remind you in a week or so and see how you're doing. I won't talk, there's so much. I should talk about glyphosate, contaminated with aluminum. So not only do you, when they spray it on the food you're eating, you're getting more likely to get more aluminum too. So there's some things you can do, and we'll talk about those maybe next time. So stay tuned. Oh, subscribe. I can't, there's so much information that's, but if you aren't reading my Substack emails, do, because I put websites and a lot more information that I can get now, in this short period. So anyway, have a good week. Turning time over to the rest of the crew.